Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you could see it and you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. And what it is a sensational vintage survivor. This is the Omega Speedmaster 176.0012, sometimes called the Speedmaster Mark 4.5, technically not part of the Mark series. This is a model that debuted in 1975 and was made through 1986. It actually features a case much like a Mark IV with the movement from the Mark V. Stainless steel and tonneau shaped, this is the image of a 1970s complicated chronograph with the legendary Lemania 5100 inside doing business as Omega caliber 1045. In stainless steel, the watch is large, 41.7 millimeters from what would conventionally be 9:3, not including pushers and crown. The watch is a reasonable 14.7 millimeters thick. It actually sits lower than that on the wrist, and lug-to-lug a very, very reasonable 44.9 millimeters. So though it is a big and blockish watch, nevertheless, on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, I've got tons of clearance on both sides. I can recommend this watch for a wrist as small as 14 centimeter circumference, and it might even fit on 13.5. Now the timepiece has a spacing between the lugs that's downright modern. Nice broad 22 millimeters. You'll find that any 22 millimeter strap will work. It's on an 1162 vintage bracelet that is correct to the period and the model, and it's a lovely looking thing with sensational survivor finish. So it's not completely mint. I would describe it more like 95%. So it's not too good to be true, but it's definitely a watch that looks as though it's never been refinished. Look at the sharp creases of this case. Look at that bevel. Now you can see there's a little bit of marking on it. It's certainly been worn, but still, this is a watch that's been worn, not worn out. And that really comes across in the bracelet, which is both physically attractive and structurally intact. You can see the small cross-section oval profile links, all of satin finish, and you can see the depth and the definition of the Omega logo on the clasp itself. Again, this is an 1162 Omega factory bracelet. There are individual apertures inside that you can use for sizing it, for adjusting its anchoring point. You can see the condition is excellent. Let me show you as much as I can of the interior stampings of the bracelet. You can see the 1162 model designation. It is very crisp. It snaps shut. And again, you can see there are some markings on the clasp, but all the original metal is there. Now jumping back to the case, you can see it is remarkably constructed. It is the image of a 1970s chronograph, and I mean that in the most endearing sense possible. You can also see how sharp it is at all four corners and both sides. I can't overemphasize that on a vintage watch. This one doesn't look like a rounded stone in a stream. This one looks as though all of the original metal is still present and correct. And now you can see an interesting feature of this watch. Notice how that there are cutouts on the bottom of the crown and the chronograph pushers. The movement and the dial and the crystal actually drop out from the case in an intact unit for service. One of the quirks of the assembly of these Omega chronographs, it's shared with a couple other family members in the Mark and non-Mark series, as well as with the Speedmaster anniversary watch, the 125. Now you can see on the dial side there's a tachymeter that looms over a tritium matte dial. It is original factory tritium, hands and dial base, and you can see the layout characteristic of a Lemania 5100. First, everything you get here. You get a German calendar. It's a German language calendar, the day and the date with quickset stop seconds. You get a radial minutes indicator. Of course, Zinn modified a Valjoux 7750 to have those radial minutes to look like the Lemania 5100 in the original EZM 1.0. I have the EZM 1.1 right there. You can have the real Lemania 5100, tank tough, a reliable tractor movement, beating away at 28,800 vibrations per hour. You've got chronograph seconds, you've got chronograph minutes, you've got chronograph hours, you've got constant seconds, and then you've got a 24-hour subdial up at 12 o'clock, so you know whether you're looking, for example, at AM or PM. And of course, you can see the hand is in the AM range right here. It also gives you a shaded day-night indication. It is remarkably crisp. I get as close as I can here, and you can see how crisp the printings of the dial as well as the indices and the hands are. Everything inside truly does look to be in time capsule condition. You can see underneath the case back, well, you can't see underneath the case back, but take my word for it. Underneath the case back is that Lemania 5100. Omega calls it the caliber 1045. Caliber 1045 is 17 joules, automatic winding, 48-hour power reserve, stop seconds. There's a double quick set for both the day and the date. It has the AM PM 24-hour indicator. It has the radial 60 minutes indication. So unlike many chronographs, chronographs, which just feature a 30-minute chronograph register. This Lemania system gives you a 60-minute radial chronograph register. It is very, very robust, and back in the day, the watch was water resistant to 60 meters. I do not recommend testing that theory. This is a watch that's designed to retire into its old age on the wrist of an enthusiast who recognizes the limits of a vintage watch and also appreciates just how good he's got it with this watch as a survivor. I'll also mention that it has a wonderful in-between technology in the use of a mineral glass rather than a plexiglass as though this were the 60s or a sapphire as though this were the 90s. So you get that mineral crystal, which is more scratch resistant than plexi but isn't quite a sapphire. And of course the tachymeter is actually part and parcel to the underside of the mineral glass, so you can see just how well this watch has survived inside and out. This is the one to own. The Speedmaster, I should say, 4.5, not technically part of the Mark series, but one hell of a watch to own. See it on the watch box.